Hey friends, my name is Emily. I'm a first year CC parent, first year CC tutor. I'm tutoring the Abecedarians in the foundations class, so that's like the 4 and 5-year-olds. Today I'm going to tell you what we did for our tin whistle lesson for cycle 1, week 9. That lesson is called Note, Values, and Staff. So the first thing I did was reviewed how we follow the conductor. So I asked them, who's the conductor? That's me. So you always have to keep your eyes on me to know what to do. So the tin whistle is always either in your lap or on the table. The only time you pick it up is if I do this. This means pick up your tin whistle. And the only time you put your mouth on it and blow in it and play on it is when I count you in like this. 1, 2, ready, play. And when I do this with my hand, that means stop playing and put your tin whistle down in your lap or back on the table. So those are our basic rules. So then we sang through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Before we sang through it, I asked them to listen to see if they noticed if any sounds were held longer than any of the others. So we sang through it, and then I asked them if they had heard any sounds that we held longer than any of the others. They couldn't really articulate it. One student said like one of the lines from the song, so then I sang through the song and I kind of used my hands and said like, twinkle, twinkle, little star. And then I said, see how we held star out longer? That's a longer note than the other notes in the song. And then I sang through the next line and did the same thing. Just the first 2 lines I sang through to kind of demonstrate that. So then I had the kids look at the cycle song, and I showed them that these lines here are a staff. These lines that go across are a staff, and we have notes on the staff. The staff is made up of lines. I asked them to count the number of lines, so they all counted, and we came up with 5. And then I said, in between each line is a blank space. And I showed them and said, how many spaces are there? So they counted, and there are 4 spaces. So our staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces. So then I asked them to look at the notes on the staff and asked them what they noticed about the notes. And one of the children said, one of the notes is white. And so I said, yes, one of the notes is white and the other ones are black. And they all have lines coming off of them. They all look similar, but some of them are different colors. Some are white and some are black. And we're going to talk about how these notes are different. And notes are like the language of music, just like letters make up words. We have to learn the alphabet to learn how to read. For music, we have to learn how to read the music. So then I handed out this, which comes from the Sandbox on CC Connected for this week. I'm using the beginner handout. They have different levels in there. So each kid got their own handout, and I pointed to this first one and said, see this first staff here? We have notes on here, and some of the kids were like, those notes look like circles. And I said, yeah, they look like circles. So watch how I draw it up on the board. So on the board I drew a circle. I said, this is called a whole note. Can you say whole note? They said whole note. And now I'm going to model for you how this note sounds. So I'm going to clap my hands to a beat, and the whole note is going to get 4 beats. So listen to how long a whole note is. Ta. And so then I explained that's a longer note, kind of like the notes we held out in the Twinkle Twinkle song. So then I had the kids trace the notes, the whole notes. And pretty much every time I said whole note, I would say, can you say whole note? Then we moved on to the next one, half note. I did the same thing there. I showed them the notes, said this is a half note. Can you say half note? Now we're going to model the sound for this, so I'm going to do my beats again, and a half note is 2 beats. Ta. I wanted them to kind of understand how it would sound if there's multiple ones, like multiple half notes, so then I did this. Ta, ta. I think that was right. So then I drew the half note up on the board. All I did was I already had the whole note up there, so I just added a stem to it, and there is some terminology down here that I used, so I said let's add a stem to the head of the whole note. So now we have a half note, and then I had them trace it on their paper. Then we went to the cycle song, and I asked them if they could find any half notes on here, and they found them. They were able to point them out. So then I did the same thing with the quarter note. I showed them the note, so this is a quarter note. I modeled the sound. Ta, 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 ta. Well, the first time through I just did it once. I went ta. There we go. And then I did multiple ta, 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 tas. And then I drew on the board, I just colored in our half note, and I said I'm coloring in the head of the half note, and this is what a quarter note looks like. And then they traced their quarter notes on here. And then we went on to the 8th notes, and I said the 8th note is really fast. It's kind of like when we do things really fast in our new grammar class. Like whenever we do the prepositions in new grammar, we say them kind of slow, and then we say them faster, faster, faster. So for the 8th note, I did it on the upbeat, so ta. And then I wanted them to hear multiple 8th notes together. Ta, 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 ta. And then I drew the little flag on the quarter note and said this is what an 8th note looks like. We just add a flag to it, like a little tail, and they traced those. And then I showed them the treble clef, and we looked at our cycle song, and I showed them how the treble clef was on the cycle song at the beginning of each line, and just shared something very briefly, like this tells us how to play the music, or something like that. I didn't go into great detail about what the treble clef was, but the way we drew it on the board, I drew it on the board, was I started at the bottom, I did a little circle, we did a J straight up, then a backwards S, and then we did a curlicue. And we had done a lot of curlicues practicing when we were doing our oils earlier in the year. So they traced that on here. I had also printed off this treble clef printable. I made this using somebody else's handout that they had put on CC Connected. I did some screenshots and like edited stuff together. This one's actually kind of messed up, but I did a updated version I put on CC Connected, so I will put the info for that in the description. But I made these, and then I sliced them up so each kid could practice treble clefs a little bit bigger than what was on this handout here. We actually ran out of time for that, so I just sent this home with them to practice if they wanted to. I told them I had a little puzzle for them with our notes, so I showed them how we have this as a whole note and see how long it is. Like a whole note is held for a really long time. and this was our half note, and we can put our half notes up under the whole note and see how many half notes make up a whole note. And some of the kids were really making the connections, and they're like, oh, it takes 2 half notes to make a whole note. And then we also have our quarter notes, and we can put our quarter notes under the whole note and see how many quarter notes it takes to make up a whole note. Or we can put our quarter notes under our half notes to see how many quarter notes it takes to make up a half note. And then we also had eighth notes. So I got this from a website, free printable from a website, so I will put the link in the description for that. So how the kids set it up was they went whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth notes, and they had them all lined up like that. And I sent these home with them too. Okay, now finally we can take our tin whistles out. So we took our tin whistles out and we sang the tin whistle song. I'll link a video to that song in the description, but I'll also sing it here for your listening pleasure. So everyone was holding on to their tin whistle, and we point to the different parts as we sing it. Do you know the tin whistle, the tin whistle, the tin whistle? Do you know the tin whistle? These are its parts: barrel, fipple, mouthpiece, finger holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, left hand on top. And before we did that, I reviewed with them which hand was their left hand. We do that every time before we put our hands on the tin whistle. So then we practiced playing our notes. So I told them they could either cover 1 or 2 holes, whatever they were comfortable with playing. So the first note we practiced was the whole note. So I pointed to it again on here and demonstrated to them how they would be playing the whole note. So I would count them in and they would play for 4 beats. So you would play like this. So then we lifted our whistles. I counted them in. 1, 2, ready, play. And they all did great. It was really good. And then we did the same thing for half note, quarter note, eighth note. And I think we did the quarter note, we did multiple ones to get them practice doing multiple notes at a time. So I demonstrated that to them by saying we're going to blow out on each note like this. And they did great. They did a great job. And that was it. That was our lesson. I was really impressed with how well they did, the amount of attention they were able to pay to what we were doing. I think it was helpful to have the different hands on, to switch back and forth between like hands on and looking at the board and listening to me, and then it really all came together at the end when they had their whistles. So that was really neat to see. I was really encouraged. And so I wanted to share with you guys what we did. So I hope that's helpful for you. If you do use these methods and it works out in your class, I'd like to hear about it. So let me know. All right, well, I will see you guys next week for Cycle 1, Week 10, New Grammar. See you then. Bye.